Hi, it's me, Wyatt, the boy,
And me, Clem, the lobster.
and you're listening to The Lobster and His Boy, in which we are rereading the Chronicles of Narnia in publication order. In this episode, we're finishing up our first book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
This episode is sponsored by The Ghost of C.S. Lewis and the Foundation for Free Narnia. End Winter Eternal, Long Live Aslan.
Long live Aslan!
So, I almost said yesterday's episode. Who knows when this is being listened to? It could be immediately after. It could be
Last week's episode,
last week's episode.
I'm assuming we don't know our recording schedule because, surprise, surprise, we're batch recording.
I mean...
And by batch recording, I mean it's been like a month and we've recorded 3 episodes.
Well, to be fair, we came up with this idea over a year ago.
And then I dropped the ball hard.
I mean, I feel like drop the ball makes it seem like you're not a proactive person who cares, and like that's not the case. You just, life.
Life has been lifing. It's been lifing. And
Oh,
it has been lifing no longer because here we are, baby.
Because it's winter.
Yeah, literally, and there's nothing else happening.
I think because we came up with the idea in winter, came up with the plan, formulated the plan, and then the weather got better, and we were like...
Let's go outside. Who wants to sit inside and record a podcast?
I love sitting inside when it's nice out and just like appreciating how nice it is outside. Like a painting.
Kinda like today. Yeah. It's nice. If you remember from last episode, I'm pretty sure the heater was on. It got a little cold. There was some crows crowing. There was some cat munching on some delicious munchie.
Yeah, just more of that lifing. And we decided to break this up into 2 episodes. I don't know if this is going to become a recurring theme for us just because we're big old nerds who like to discuss things. But at least with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I personally feel like this is the most well-known of the stories. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one who feels that way. I feel like it's arguably the most well-known story.
I mean, this is Narnia. Like it says, C.S. Lewis, his daydream of Narnia was that image that Lucy sees of Mr. Tumnus. He didn't have a name. He just saw a fawn in the snow, but there was a lamppost, and he had a handful of packages, and he was going somewhere, and it was maybe Christmas time, but definitely winter time, and that was it. And he had this daydream over and over, and probably during winter when there was nothing else going on, he sat down and started writing.
Man, and this is like so people are always like, oh, what did people do before TV, before blah, and I'm like, honestly, everything. That's why people made so much cool art. That's why.
Yeah, the leisure time activities that people were doing and had access to back in the day were so much more productive, really.
Yeah.
They were productive coded leisure activities.
Well, especially like people who were like farmers or quote unquote peasants, like those types of humans. Like, yeah, they worked long hours in the summer, but like in the winter they only had to work a couple of hours and shit, and otherwise they were making like bonkers art and stuff.
Not going to smoking parties. They weren't doing all that shit. They were making art, music, carving, wood carpentry,
painting leather to put on dresses.
Yes, leather dresses.
Yes,
in the 50s, there were leather dresses.
Somebody was wearing. I mean, which country? This is why our podcasts are so long, because
we're talking about leather dresses in the 50s instead of chapter 10.
But to be fair, I'm auto ADHD and you're probably ADHD.
Some.
I don't know. We're friends, so there's got to be something wrong with you. Anyway, so we're going to be jumping in on, by my page count, 109 to chapter 10, which is The Spell Begins to Break. So, yes, so the children, they're all in Narnia. Edmund is now captive by the White Witch's hand. Because
went there willingly.
Yeah. Left the comfort of the beaver's wonderful home and the delicious meal because he was under the spell of that Turkish delight.
Yeah, so was I watching that movie. I was under that spell. Anyway, we'll talk about the movie another time.
Yeah, listen to our previous episode if you want to hear how we feel about Turkish delight. Maybe we can just do one about that. But anyway, so they've realized he's gone.
Yes,
he is gone.
We jump back with chapter 10 to the beaver household from the White Witch's house, and they're like, imagine scrambling, packing. They've got like 20 minutes because the White Witch's house is a mile away, and she's on a sled. They've got 20 minutes maybe before she gets there. And Mrs. Beaver, she's just packing food. She's like, we should get some of this bread, and we should get some of this, that. And she's just like putting together little bags for everybody. And they're like hurrying her along. I think she even goes like, should I take my sewing machine? Which is me 100%. Like, well, but what if I need to fix something while we're on the road?
I mean, she's right, though. Like, I mean, yes, there are sometimes you got to run out in the night with no shoes on, but if you have the time, you should bring a snack.
I do have, I'm sure it will come in handy later. Like,
when does a snack not come in handy?
Exactly. Like, you're going to be on the run. You're going to be hungry.
And it's winter, too.
Aye.
So, yeah, so they disappear off, and it's evening time, so under the cover of the night.
They travel deep into the night, forever, and then miles later, probably, I don't know how long they go, it's like they've been walking. Mr. Beaver finds a little secret hidey hole that he says beavers use in case of emergency to get a couple hours of sleep before hitting the road again, which I feel like I didn't look it up. One of the few animal facts I didn't look up, like if that's a real thing, but I feel like beavers don't travel that much.
No, they typically build a dam and stay there.
They chop the trees there, with their teeth.
They might move down the dam, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible Oregonian. I should know better.
I mean, but it's also, it's Narnia.
That's true.
And they all cram in because it's made for beavers, and they're kind of on top of one another. And I feel like they still, I don't know, but I feel like they still have their little fur coats, I'm sure. So they're all like snuggled up in their little fur. And Mrs. Beaver gives them this little like Narnian NyQuil that, quote, stung the throat, but deliciously warm after you swallowed it. And then they all go to sleep.
Beaver booze?
Yeah, literally like, here you go, drink some of this, and you'll go to bed. And then they wake up to the sound of bells. And they're all scared, thinking it's the White Witch. Which? Have any of them, they don't know about the bells? Like, we know about the bells, but why are they scared? I mean, I guess they just assume that any noise coming there is going to be her after them.
Yeah, I would assume because, the bells of the sleigh these poor traumatized children have been evacuated from a wartime.
Right.
So,
just trauma from that in general.
Typically, where they were, I'm sure it'd be sirens, but any sort of, alarm or drawing their attention probably just,
And they're underground, like in a little bunker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It feels like, it feels like intro to dramatic irony. Because, we already know that she took off the bells. They make a whole thing of it. She goes, take the bells off the sleigh.
Mm-hmm.
They're going on a stealth mission. And so we know that it's not her. We don't know who it is. And then Mr. Beaver's all sneaking out. I'm like, damn, he's hella heroic here.
But it's Father Christmas, which is surprising because we had heard that it was always winter, but never Christmas.
Santa.
Coming to sort them.
Yeah, coming to sort them yet again into their Hogwarts houses. But it says he's solemn. He's not happy, ho, ho, ho. He's just kind of serious. He's not mean or anything, but he's definitely not as jolly, laughy celebration as I thought. I think he's just more grateful that he is able to be here again.
I think he'd be like Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers was
kind,
warm
but,
and kind, but he wasn't silly and goofy. He was just you just trusted him.
I don't think we get one ho ho ho. I wanted one. I think they do it in the movie. He sleds away and he goes, oh ho 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 ho, and he's so happy because Christmas is finally here. Maybe it does. We'll get there in a second. But he gives out gifts to everybody, starting with Mrs. Beaver, and he gives her a new sewing machine. Well, I don't think he hands it to her. I think he says it'll be at the house when she arrives home.
Yeah, or he's gonna drop it at their place.
And Mr. Beaver gets his dam fixed or finished or whatever. But I don't really know if I would take that as a gift because, as we saw earlier, he's really proud of his dam that he built himself. And Santa's like, oh, I fixed it up for you, finished it, but he was excited about finishing it.
Yeah, I mean,
but now he's on this mission, and so like
he doesn't have to worry about it because
I guess that's what it is.
and they put like and like a new fence and like fix all the leaks and stuff. And I mean, I don't know. Like I would love that if someone's like,
if
hey,
there
I
was
fixed
some
all the shit in your
leaks and
house.
things,
Now you don't have to do it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Just my initial reaction was, I was like, but
It's because you have a Virgo first sibling.
it was his project. It was his project, and he wanted to do it.
That is very sweet. But I think that it's one of those things where it's like, it's not that I think that Santa's presumptuous. It's just that like Santa theoretically, mythologically, movie.
He just knows.
He knows what you want. Like that's why everyone's like, oh, it's really fucking Santa, because like he knows exactly what I want in my heart of hearts that I've never told anyone. Yeah.
He's like, fuck, I'm so proud of my house, but there's a leak here. This branch is too thick, but I can't go back in and fix it. Like, I guess all that shit, the nitpickiness of your own work.
Yeah, especially because like in other movies, it's like Santa would bring people like the toy you wanted most as a child, which like think about what yours would be. We'll roll back on that. Call in and let us know what your dream childhood toy would be if Santa could bring you anything. But this is like an appropriate gift for an adult, basically.
Question.
Yeah.
What if the only thing I can think of is something that I got?
That's okay.
All right.
That's great. That's wonderful. I mean, like, and not that like, my child was full of wanting. It's just like I wanted a Barbie Jeep. I think that would probably be mine. I just was too big and they were expensive. So I didn't get one, and that's okay.
We did have one, but it wasn't, I think that it was,
you had real Jeeps. You were a Jeep family, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and it wasn't Barbie. My dad painted it to look like his Jeep.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, anyway, on to children's gifts. Speaking of children's gifts, we start with Peter, of course, because he's the most important. He gets a shield and a sword. And these aren't toys. This is real life. A shield and a sword. It's the perfect size for Peter. A child of, how old was he again?
13.
13. And it's got a red lion on the front and a gold hilt on the sword. And and it has Godric Gryffindor carved into the blade. No.
It says I opened the lock somewhere. Or the close, excuse me.
Susan gets a bow and a quiver full of arrows and a little ivory horn. And he said, only use the bow in great need, as he doesn't intend for her to fight in the battle. Father Christmas doesn't intend for Susan. Like, who is he to say that they shouldn't be fighting? Like, that would make sense coming from Aslan or the Emperor Beyond the Sea or whatever his name is, Aslan's father.
It's kind of more so problematic that he's expecting Peter to fight.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, here's a sword. You better fucking kill some people.
Yeah, you're
and then
13
Susan,
now.
Here's something to kill people. But since you're a woman of 12...
hers is protection, though. It isn't really what I mean, like, and he could have worded it in a less misogynistic way, but essentially it's like, defense versus offense. Like, Peter's stuff is for offense, her stuff is for defense, I guess.
And the horn will always call for help whenever blown. Well, like, isn't that what a regular horn does? And he says he thinks, but it's probably just an expression because it's 1950 or whatever. But he's like, yeah, that I think that it will always call for help. You're like, you think? If I need help, I want to be sure that it's coming. Yeah. I don't want to be like, well, Santa said he thinks that it'll work.
Yeah, or like what's that thing from Harry? Like, help will always be given to Hogwarts by those who ask. Or something like that.
Who ask.
Yeah. And all comparisons we make of any mythical or magical boys who go to a school in Scotland, those comparisons are not. It's because that author pulled from C.S. Lewis. I feel like that's obvious, but I just wanted to point that out. By no means are we twisted or mistaking that.
And then on to the best, not the best gift, but also kind of, but the best girl, Lucy.
A good girl.
Good girl. She gets a bottle that looked like glass. Later, people will say it was diamond, but I think this is probably also hyperbole, just like how they think Jadis is part giant and part djinn because she's magic.
It's probably
huge.
Like quartz or something.
Yeah, it might be crystal or something, but diamond, it doesn't need to be diamond. And it was filled with cordial.
Lucy with her diamond cordial.
Oh my god.
Okay, now I gotta look up that Beatles.
Because it's made from fire flowers that grow on the mountain of the sun.
Isn't that just the most wonderful thing? I mean, like, yes, I would want the bow and arrow if I had a choice, but like, I also think I feel like Lucy gets the best gift.
She does.
Like, I would rather
drops that will insta heal anybody from anything.
Yeah,
even from like right on the edge of death, which we may see later.
No spoiler.
And he says, she also gets a dagger. She also gets a weapon. They all get a weapon. But Santa says, no fighting unless necessary. Boys only. A dagger, I mean, that's like...
I'd rather have the bow and arrow and the healing potion.
Dagger's close range.
Yeah, bow and arrow.
I would hate to have to stab somebody.
Ugh.
Like, and you would feel it. Like, that's the worst. Lucy gets the worst weapon. The best gift, but the worst weapon. And Santa says, battles are ugly when women fight. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Excuse me?
I mean, there's a reason Mrs. Claus stays at home.
Should we fucking shut up?
Anyway, then they have ham and bread sandwiches, which, like, simple as they may sound, honestly, in this context, I'm like, you know what? They're in the snow, they're cold, and then they give you bread and ham and a hot cup of tea.
Yeah, he pulls hot tea. Then the magical Christmas, baby.
Yeah,
and
magical
I'm sure
Christmas
Mrs. Dagger
tea.
pulls out some butter or bread or some other crap from her little bag.
Mrs. Beaver is like, yeah, she is 100% invited to my travel party because anyone that rolls with that many like snacks and condiments can kick it with me. But yeah, and then they have a little breakfast, and then Mr. Beaver says, "Time to be moving on now."
Yeah, and Santa leaves, and they leave. Bye-bye, Santa.
Which brings us to our next chapter.
Chapter 11. Aslan is nearer.
Oh yeah, back to Edmund.
Oh yeah, flashback to Edmund. We're going back and forth, and he's having the most shitty time.
I mean, yeah, and he's just like begging for Turkish delight, and they're like,
"Oh my god, I can't believe he asks for more."
Yeah, no, he is.
It's the bewitchment. It has to be. It has to be because he like is not having a good time. She's already being mean to him, and then he asks for more Turkish delight. Like,
yeah,
you know that you're not in her good graces anymore, but he gets a bowl of water and some dry bread.
Right, yeah, and he's like, no, I don't want it. Like, I mean, I get it. I would not. I mean, the water, bread, sure, but
like, yeah, I feel like this has to be happening much quicker, and not after all of this stuff.
It's probably happening at the same time.
Yeah, because she gets on her sled and tells Malgrim to go to the beavers and kill anything there. And yeah, this must be happening while they ran away. And I said, we'll find out maybe. They get to the house. There's nobody there, and it says they would have overtaken them before their little hidey hole pre-Santa, but because it was snowing, their tracks and scent were all covered up. Okay.
Right.
So they just only got away because it had freshly started to snow, which is also interesting because the snow is probably, and now that I'm realizing it, if the snow was good, then it was probably like the Christmas snow, like happy, jolly, good snow.
Yeah.
Not like the witch's snow, because it was already getting mushy when they came in. Not really, but the snow was wet, as you brought up, like when they first went in, versus when Lucy and Edmund had come in previously, it was just snow. It was cold and crunchy and snow.
Ice snow, like here.
But when the first time all four of them came in, it was wet. Their feet got wet.
Because they're breaking down they're literally melting her magic.
But then it snows, so that's kind of interesting.
I think that might have been like Santa.
Yeah,
like might have been Christmas.
Christmas snow.
And protect, and also Narnia is inclined. Narnia will protect them.
Yeah. Like,
and even though it's the witch's magic that's making winter happen, like Narnia has their back. Like and Aslan has their back too. Like there's no, I mean, like if that wouldn't have happened, it's like then birds and creatures would have come by and disrupted it or something, or whatever, or like at least enough to like where they couldn't see where they scampered off.
Yeah.
But
meant to be.
But like the snow now is still melting, and like it was dripping, and Edmund also doesn't have a coat. Fly. Yeah. So he's cold, but honestly, I mean, God, it's hard to feel sympathy for him apart from the fact that he is just a child.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said he's a little shit, but he's only 10. Like, I wasn't a little shit when I was 10, but like a lot of people were. And then, but hour after hour, he's getting Glee slushied. And he just wants to see his siblings again. He even says something like he would even see Peter. He fucking hates that dude. And he's like, I would even see Peter, I guess. Like, and he's just 10. It does make me feel bad for him. It's almost only because he's a kid, yeah.
Well, like in this sort of like, behavior that like, not to get technical, but like this sort of like, I don't know, challenging behavior, I guess. Like that's the type of thing where it's like, oh, kids grow out of it, this or that. And it's like, he literally like, it is like a spell in and of itself that you cast on yourself with like that type of thinking. And it's like, no, you love your siblings. You want to please them. That's why you don't feel good when you make them upset. And it's, it's one of those wild things. But anyway, the witch stumbles upon a bunch of cutie creatures and dwarves and people celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, because Santa had came by and he gave them a whole bunch of food, just like our quad.
Mm-hmm.
This maybe happened then after that, because it's melting. Yeah, squirrel family, some satyrs, a dwarf, and an old fox, which has a much bigger role in the movie, the fox, which I like. We'll talk about it after we watch the movie, but an old fox. They tell her that
silver
they got
fox.
Robin Hood. They tell her they got the food from Father Christmas, and she turns them all to stone. There's children there. I mean, children, squirrels, but they're Narnia squirrels. They're not even. It's sad, regardless. Children, little baby, fluffy babies.
Yeah, because some people don't care about the lives of anyone, regardless of how young they are.
And this is where Edmund has a moment. He rushes forward, please no, as she turns them to stone, and she slaps him across the face.
And he's cold and he's wet, and so it's probably just
she's strong.
Stings, a stunning blow across the face, like it probably like the traumatizing memory of being assaulted while watching that happening.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it doesn't excuse his behavior, but oh my God. Like,
right. But now he's, from now forward, I wouldn't probably do anything to act out either. If I was 10 and I just saw that, like, she's just going to turn me to stone. Like, the only chance I have of anything is just like doing what she says.
Right. Yeah. I mean, fight, flight, or
freeze.
Bite.
So they get back in the sleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Snow is melting. Edmund can hear the little trickling of the creeks and the streams around them. It says he couldn't even really remember what it was at first, as if he's been there so long. But again, like, I guess Narnia. But it goes the same length. It feels like it's the same length when you're there. It just goes faster in our world. But I was like, imagine the people who've lived here for 100 years of snow, generations and generations, and none of them have heard
snow,
running water, like heard a creek bubbling. It was all frozen. I mean, I'm sure the beavers, I guess, because they can get access.
I mean, you'd be terrified. You think that everything was going to crumble and fall apart,
the world
probably.
is falling apart almost. But also, like, the flowers are starting to bloom. He's seeing green patches of grass.
Mm-hmm. And then they can't sled anymore.
And they start walking, and it's just going to take forever. And he's just, like, tied up. They're, like, dragging him.
He's on a leash.
Mm-hmm. And he's seeing the flowers. The first flowers he sees are, I didn't look up how to pronounce it, but celandines. It's probably celandines. Ficaria verna, formerly Ranunculus ficaria, commonly known as lesser celandine or pilewort, is a low-growing, hairless, perennial flowering plant in the buttercup family, emerging in late winter, with flowers appearing late February through May in the UK. Its appearance across the landscape is regarded by many as a harbinger, right?
Yeah.
Harbinger of spring. In the language of flowers, it means joys to come. So it's a good omen.
Yeah.
I feel like these little placements he does are definitely important. The red robin, it's the first flower of early spring.
Oh yeah, and the primrose, and then he mentions a little bee, a buzzing, bumbly bee going by.
A lot of the flowers that are listed are just early spring. They mean of course rebirth, regrowth, all the regular things. And she's just getting more and more mad as she's seeing spring appear. I'd be so scared, like her getting mad. It's like she's just gonna be unhinged.
It's like me at the end of autumn when it's becoming winter. Basically, it's like how I imagine she's reacting. Just ugh. Well, I guess she has more fury, but well, yeah. So then that brings us to chapter 12. Peter's first battle. Why are we writing music for you?
And the other kids having a grand old walk. They're seeing kingfisher birds, so pretty. I looked it up, but I don't have a picture here, but they're so pretty. They see bluebells, blah, blah, blah. Spring. I bet you it means spring. It does. I promise you. In a few hours, it went from January to May. Like, cold to spring.
And spring turned to summer.
I wish that would happen here. No, it's literally, that's global warming. So I don't want it to happen, but I want it to happen.
Careful what you wish for. But yeah, basically, it's like, it's just, in a matter of hours, basically, it's just spring again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and yes, they had impact on the weather, but I think that the real impact is Aslan. The beavers say Aslan is, around. Once Aslan is here, shit is gonna start growing. We know this.
Oh yeah, well, because the kids showed up, so then he came back.
Yeah,
because
the kids showed up. The spell is a little weakened, like then the rightful heir to the throne.
And then he's back. Which is great, and like I think it's just like because it brings up the whole conversation again of like good not being able to exist without evil. Not to loosely paraphrase Mother Gaga, but like you need that duality. But eventually, like Aslan's magic, the magic of good, overtakes the winter.
It is interesting with that being brought up. The trade-off: 900 years of peace for 100 years of her winter.
900 years of peace.
I think that's what it says. We'll get there in like a while. We'll figure that out.
We've got a minute.
In 6 books, 5 books.
But yeah, so basically they have now come across the stone table, which, I mean, for those who are just reading along with their imaginations, I assume it's just. I in my head it's more Celtic and like Scottish lore than anything. Yeah, but somewhere between Knights of the Round Table and something that you'd see in that sort in like a Stonehenge kind of way.
I think I picture a very similar thing. I think they do it well.
Yeah, I mean there's dryads and naiads and all the like sorcerers and stuff. So I'm sure it's just like cool symbols and different stuff.
Right. I think later on they say that there's something carved in it in a language nobody can read or whatever. And he is also here. Aslan himself, surrounded by a half circle of these said creatures. And they are the East Sea. Which is interesting. East Sea, I feel like it would be in the west, but maybe not. It's the East Coast story.
Right. Did you want to list everybody who was there?
Oh, I don't have a list, but go ahead.
Oh, I mean,
like all the critters and creatures and beings and
stuff.
I
do have a list, which was tree women and well women, which were the dryads and the naiads. And they had stringed instruments, and they were playing music. There were 4 centaurs, and I guess like the horse part kind of looked like English farm horses, which I'm going to make a note about that. We can get back to that subject after. But there's a unicorn, a bull with the head of a man.
Is that like the opposite of a minotaur? Bull with the head of a man?
I guess so. It's a Tara man. The bull with the head of a man, a pelican, an eagle, and a great dog. And then 2 leopards who carry the crown and the they call it his standard, which I assume is like
maybe like a scepter or
Yeah.
something. I could look it up real quick.
banners or like a banner or something, but yeah, standard. And then Aslan was just standing there. And the children and the beavers don't know what to do or say when they see him because, you know, it's hard for people in Narnia and also for children to not understand that like something good and terrible can happen at the same time, which he makes reference to. And I think that that's a nice balance because like the children are naive because they're children and the animals are because they've been trapped in this never-ending hellish winter. So they're scared of Aslan, but they're also really excited. And did you find out what it means?
No, the only thing I could find looking it up, they're talking about chickens. Wheaton Standard. I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But so Mr. Beaver gently, you know, coerces Peter to go talk, and Peter's like, not Peter. Peter says no, and then, you know, humans
he
before
says ladies first to Susan,
and she's
ladies
like,
first.
You're the eldest.
Yeah. Hi, King Peter's afraid. Aslan calls them he beaver and she beaver. I said honestly, sick Instagram handle, she beaver.
Non-binary beaver.
Yeah, they beaver.
Gender neutral beaver. Someone's got to have that.
Gender neutral beaver. That's quite good. Yeah, and they walk up to Aslan. Chill as a cuke. Cool as a cuke. Peter tries to take part of the blame. He's like, oh, it was my fault for Edmund betraying me. I was angry with him. What? No. That's not how that works. Like, he made his own choice. You were in a safe space, and he left. Like,
it feels like Peter takes on a lot of the responsibility for people leaving. Oh, Peter. It's not your fault that people leave. Anyway, once he speaks, they do feel better. But, you know, Lucy advocates to save her brother.
Yeah.
Because even though she should be the most happy that he's gone, but of course she doesn't feel happy he's gone. She just loves him. So
because she is the most emotionally mature 8-year-old you will ever be. Peter goes on the hill for a little heart-to-heart with Azzy Boy, so he can flex the castle they're gonna live in. Look at Care Paravar over there. This is gonna be your castle, Peter. He's low-key giving the White Witch speech.
I mean, but yeah, with like it's you know, it's but the Mufasa version.
Yeah.
Everything the light touches. But also, yeah, Aslan's like, oh no, well he'll be let's eat a big meal and I'm gonna show you all these things that you're gonna get. But like, it's the difference between like, if you do this, you'll get it, instead of like, this belongs to you.
Yeah.
I guess is the big difference. But like,
we don't really get to find out much more because Susan blows her horn. They hear it and run to save her because she probably doesn't have a weapon. Well, she has a bow and arrow, but she was told not to use it, except unless she really has to. But also, she doesn't probably know how to use it.
Yeah.
They probably haven't gotten any training yet. Because you can't just shoot. You could try to just shoot a bow and arrow, but I don't think it would go very well.
It would be fun to watch someone try, but I'm an excellent archer.
I used to go to the gun range. There was an archery section, and I would bring my little compound bow, and I would do the archery. I didn't like the guns, but
yeah, archery is fun. I think it's always a good time. But yeah, if you don't have someone show you how to do it, it's fucking impossible. So, because there's a big bad wolf, but it's one of those things where it's like almost as if it was conjured for the sake of Peter getting the courage for what's about to come, because like he's scared, but it's his sister and he's not gonna let anything happen to her. So it's like, okay, well, he doesn't have a choice, so he has to kill the wolf in self-defense. But like,
it like kind of jumps at him, right?
Yeah.
And he just kills it instantly. Boom.
Yeah.
Horcrux dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Would they describe it as like what, as Alsatian, the dog? It's like a dog breed. I looked it up. It literally just looks like a German Shepherd.
Okay.
But like big. I'm big and scary.
My book only described it as like a wolf.
Yeah.
They didn't really like give it much more. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe they. No, I don't think so. But like also, where the fuck is everybody else? You can't hurry down to help him. Like this seems like a lesson. It doesn't,
Like where are they? They're off on their own on the edge of the camp. Why?
Yeah. Well, then also like, oh, you've forgotten to clean your sword, which is what Aslan says to him.
Never forget to wipe your sword.
Not like, are you okay? Like you were just, I don't know what.
Yeah, he just instantly crowns him like a knight. He gives him this nickname, Peter Wolfsbane. It's kind of cheesy.
It's pretty inappropriate.
Yeah. Never forget to wipe your sword. And I did look up this thing. It's on litcharts.com. Not lit charts, but like literature, obviously.
It's fucking lit charts.
And they say that this is symbolic of his desire to impress upon Peter the importance of always confronting one's actions and taking responsibility for them. Like, you have to clean that blood off your blade because you created it. You took the blood.
Yeah, consequences.
Which I didn't really. I always just was like, "Ooh, your blades can get rusty. You better clean your sword," which is also true. It says it would not be advisable to introduce any dirt or even worse fluids into the sheath, as they are very difficult or even impossible to clean. That's from Quora, under the question, "Why did samurai wipe their swords?"
Yahoo Answers.
Peter is not a samurai, obviously.
Right.
But he's a magic knight now. He killed the basilisk. I mean.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like it is an animal versus a human. I still don't.
But isn't it?
I don't condone killing animals. But
is it Malgrim that's there? That he kills, or is it just like?
I don't think they say.
Because I'm looking in my notes and I don't have who. It might just be a wolf. It's just the only wolf we have met was Malgrim. We knew there was more, but...
Oh, they do mention this Alsatian.
Alsatian? Is that his name?
No, it's a dog. He says, yeah, just a dog that looks like it. I don't... They never name the wolf. And given the fact that, like, there were all those stoned wolves that had been turned into stone... like, I mean, maybe she just woke one up and like gave them I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, obviously they were sent to
die.
I also feel like it could have been easily, because like where it came, like, all the people are scattering and running away from it. It just seems like a thing that Aslan created for this educational purpose.
Yeah, like a bugger. Like, I mean, it wasn't really gonna hurt them.
It's like, I don't know. Yeah, you create all this life. How can you not find it precious? I guess Aslan's been burnt. Anyway, that's the end of Peter's first battle. So
we move to chapter 13, Lucky 13.
Deep magic from the dawn of time.
And we flash back to Edmund. Back, forth.
I know.
With the whiplash. Yeah. And they're short chapters too. I know we take a long time to get through each one, but they are short chapters.
They are very short. This is a short book.
And she's plotting. The White Witch is plotting.
Oh, yeah.
And she's gonna kill him? She was gonna kill him on the stone table?
I mean, yeah, basically, like, it's, Aslan knows that this is gonna happen, but it's like, yeah, it's like,
But then
I don't think they really discussed that part yet, but like, spoiler, basically just like, or like, she's trying to find him, and like, then like they know that they're at the stone table, and like that the other children are there basically, but like all of her, like they want to attack right now, and she's like, no, I need to build up my army, and like, those are the things, like, we have to like basically like get ready for this battle essentially, but tell everybody to get here as fast as possible.
So she doesn't have her forces?
No.
Okay.
Because there's the wolf, like, go basically, like, they're able to get, like, everybody at everybody at the stone table, they're like, okay, well, she's gonna know, and of course she does. It's on the wind. I don't know. She like says prepare the victim, but
yeah, like she's about to kill Edmund at the stone table, because like that's her right or whatever.
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying Aslan on the stone table.
No,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
She's planning on killing Edmund right now, I think. But then she changes her mind for some reason.
Yeah.
And then like they tie him up, and all of a sudden, like, someone comes to rescue Edmund.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, she is about to kill him, And she's like, no, never mind. Like, ooh, maybe I can use him. And then he just gets taken. It's really strange.
By strong arms.
Yeah. And the witch is able to somehow like turn herself and the dwarf to look like a stump and a boulder, which is really like, girl, you were scared of whatever this was.
She's a weenie white witch.
Mm-hmm. And I said, why did they not also just disguise Edmund when they would just be able to disguise him as another rock?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I don't know.
They did, yeah.
Maybe there wasn't time in the scuffle, in the battle. Her knife was knocked out of her hand, and then she was like, oh shit, like, I gotta disappear. I don't have a weapon anymore. Yeah, they just take him back to Aslan. It's like, boop, bop. You were right here by the stone table, and now we got you.
Yeah, I think because she knows she needs to talk to him, and she can talk to Aslan, but it's like,
yeah, like I feel like she knew that they were gonna take him back.
Yeah,
and then she'd be able to go talk to Aslan, which she does. But Aslan first has little one-on-one with Edmund.
Like they go to sleep, wake up, eat breakfast, and then they deal with it.
Yeah,
I love the logic. They're like, you know what? This is important, but it's late. Let's sleep on it and deal with it in the morning.
Nice. Yeah, we'll chat about it with the sunrise
after we've breakfasted.
Aslan talks to him. They go back to the Pevensies. I feel like we never say their last name.
I legitimately forgot because they don't mention it.
No, they
I
never
don't actually even think
They mention it right at the beginning, I think, and that's it.
Yeah.
And Aslan goes, don't bring up the past. It's all settled. Excuse me? Did he betray you, Aslan? He turned his back on his own siblings, and they're not allowed to have any feelings about it or have a conversation even about it. They don't really care anymore. They're just glad to have him back, but they're just not allowed to talk about it, and they just don't.
I guess I love this image.
Yeah, I have a note about that image as well. For those of you that don't have the book in their hands, there's an image of the White Witch and Aslan walking together. And he's designed a la the Lion King from Robin Hood.
But he's walking upright with his hands folded behind his back with his head turned to her listening. And both of they're walking forward, but their bodies are facing each other. And her left hand is extended out towards him. Not like in the drawing, it's like almost as if it's extended out for him to hold, but obviously he never would. And she doesn't want that. It's just kind of more about the openness of their conversation, I think, is what it's trying to encapsulate.
It does seem very equal. Like they're just chatting. They're going on a stroll and they're chatting. Oh, yeah, she's here, by the way. She comes to the camp.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, after they breakfasted.
Yeah, after they breakfasted and Aslan chats with Edmund, the White Witch appears. And I, again, of course, drew a comparison to HP because she has a similar effect as, like, the Dementors.
That's true.
They all shudder. Everyone feels like it's cold. Even though it was a nice day, a nice warm spring day, they feel kind of chilly looking at her. She doesn't look Aslan in his eyes, though. Like, although they are open here in this image, it says she doesn't look Aslan in his eyes because she knows deep down, like she knows that she's the bad person.
Well, and she mentions, the deep magic, and
you dare cite the deep magic to me?
Well, and like unless she has blood as the law, Narnia will be overturned and perish in water and fire, basically.
Yeah, because she has dominion over every traitor or liar or deceiver, and she has every right to kill them. She says they are her property, basically. And since Edmund betrayed his siblings, she has every right to kill him. It doesn't matter that Aslan now has him.
Like God goes down to hell to fight for your soul, basically. I guess like Hercules.
Yeah.
This has more Greek mythology.
Yeah, and if he doesn't let it happen, it seems like the world will literally just crumble. Like this is one of the like a law of nature almost.
Yeah, like it'll go the way of Charn.
Yeah, she has somehow weaseled this clause in the laws of nature. Like the Santa Claus. CLAUSE clause. because she said it was bestowed upon her by the Emperor beyond the sea, who is the father of Aslan, aka God, in the early days of Narnia. Yeah, how did she get that bestowed upon her? Like that seems crazy. Or just because she was evil incarnate, the creator was like, well, sure.
I think also, fuck, I was actually listening to what you were saying and I lost what I was thinking. Damn it, brain.
Well, I was gonna move on to Susan begging Aslan.
She suggests changing the Emperor's magic, and then he just he's like work against the Emperor's magic, and then and nobody ever made that suggestion again.
No, like what? Can we just change gravity? Can we just no?
Yeah, this isn't a law like the constitutions or things like that. Those are things
the world works.
Yeah, it was like constitutional things, like those are things that are meant to be altered and changed. But yeah, this is like the fundamental laws of gravity. The sun, it's like basically Susan suggesting that like the sun and the moon change their schedules essentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
but she's just panicking. She's thinking that her younger brother, who she just got back, is about to die.
Yeah,
and so she's just scrambling, and she's gonna ask the person in charge. Yeah, she's 12. She's just gonna ask the person in charge to fix this. Aslan and the witch go to talk alone, and that's the little image we were talking about. Walking around.
Mm-hmm. Also, Susan doesn't know that she's asking him to change, that something so drastic.
She's just asking him to save her brother.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know what she's asking. Yeah.
And I'm not super familiar because I haven't read the Bible in a long time, but this walk, the story of Jesus' crucifixion, Jesus knows he's going to die. He knows that Judas is going to betray him. He knows all these things are going to happen. And he tells all of them beforehand. And before he is arrested by the Roman soldier, he's in a I think it's like a garden or a churchyard or something like that with all of his disciples. Colin, if you can remember the names of all the disciples. Before he gets arrested, and this is what it reminds me of, where Aslan's like, no, I need to go do this thing. Basically, it's like this is like the Last Supper essentially, with a conversation where he's like, no, I need to go do this.
Yeah, because they come back and the witch asks how she knows he's gonna hold up, quote, his end of the deal, and he just starts to roar louder and louder at her, and then she runs away in fear, which has happened once before, or we'll talk about it in the future, in the prequel.
In the future episode about the prologue.
Yeah, in the future episode about the past, about the
future beginning. Prologue. That's a good song title.
Future prologue. And that's the end of the chapter. It ends with him roaring and her running.
Running away.
Running away.
She bravely ran away. Bravely ran away. Yeah, these are very, very short chapters.
Yeah, now we're on chapter 14. So yeah, all it was a conversation. 2 conversations happened, and we had 7 conversations about those 2 conversations. Because that's what a podcast is about.
Right. What's our time marker at?
We are at, I think it's about an hour. I didn't start a timer the same way I had previously. But we started at about 4:20, like 4:15-ish, I think.
Okay, which brings us to the next chapter.
Chapter 14.
The Triumph of the Witch.
Doesn't sound very good, does it?
No. I feel like I didn't do a spooky witch voice for no reason. But she's not like a spooky witch.
No, she's not a spooky witch. No, she's just a witch. She's just a magical.
But basically, he comes back and he's like, okay, cool, let's dip. We're going to go to the Fjords of Bruna.
Sounds nice.
Fjords of Bruna. Party time.
Greece.
Everybody.
Because this area is going to be wanted for, quote, other purposes. Quote, and he doesn't say what. He just says they're going to want this area. Because they're just right in the forest or whatever, on the outskirts of the plain of the tomb table.
Also, don't stay in the exact place where you just had your conversation.
Yeah. And so I think they just kind of go through the forest to the fjords. Fjords? Is that what it is?
I think it's
it's like a river, probably, is what I'm imagining.
Yeah, I don't
through the forest to the river edge.
We'll have to look up when a fjord becomes a fjord. When a fjord becomes a fjord.
I have Aslasin, because there was a typo. Aslan.
Amazing.
Aslasin starts preparing everybody. He's got What is this? Pepper. Who's Pepper?
Peppa.
I said he's got 2 plans prepared, probably. He's got 2 Pepper plans.
Mine will also have like words that aren't all the way printed or like words that are just missing. And I'm like, maybe I should be better about the bulk prints.
Yeah. Here we go. He's got 2 prepared plans. One, hoping to cut her off. This is tomorrow when the battle starts, because the battle's starting tomorrow. He's planning on cutting her off before she gets back to the castle. But the other plan is a castle siege, which I feel like has little to no hope of success.
I mean, this is a child with no real war experience.
He doesn't know how to siege a castle. I don't know how to siege a castle, and I'm older than 13.
I mean, I played a lot of Stratego as a child.
17.
I have been 17.
Once. Twice. How long have you been 17?
Call us in and let us know how long you've been 17.
Aslan says he can't promise that he'll even be at the battle. So I'm sure Peter's like, wait, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, and now he's probably listening a lot more and paying attention to everything Aslan is saying, preparing him for this battle. Because, like we just said, he doesn't know shit. So he's like, wait, fuck, you're not going to be here? The teacher's not going to be here?
Right.
Well,
and like, Peter actually makes a pretty... I mean, it's like, what if she attacks at night? And Aslan's like, oh no, she wouldn't do that. And I'm like, why? I mean, yes, okay, Aslan does know what's going to happen theoretically, but also like, how do you know she's going to have this code of ethics for this war other than like...
She could. After what happens, she could immediately go to camp and massacre, and it just would have taken over.
He would know that though. I mean, it drives the plot.
Yeah, it drives the plot is really it. But Susan and Lucy, they pick up on his sad vibes. Aslan's got some, what's the word I want? Melancholy vibes.
It's such a good word.
Yeah.
And dinner's like a quiet affair.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward.
And everybody goes to bed. I mean, like, yeah, they're, preparing for a battle, but like...
But it's even awkward beyond that. Because I feel like it doesn't mention Aslan, like, giving a speech or saying anything. Like, he is just kind of sad and quiet. And I'm sure he's been jovial previously, even though he knew it was going to happen. But once the kids arrived, it very became real.
Quick, distinct mood change. Not that it fluctuates. Yeah, it's like he went from fine to Syed.
Yeah, and so the 2 of them can't really fall asleep after that awkward dinner.
And then they discuss what we just discussed.
Yeah, basically.
They're like, they're just like, let's...
They have their little chit-chat. Girls talk.
Yeah, I think they just decide to go for a walk. They go to look for Aslan.
Yeah, they go to look for him, and they just barely see him. I imagine it just seeing the little swish of his tail going into the woods. And they're like, why would he be going into the woods? Like, where we just came from.
This is so sad.
Yeah, and they follow him back on the path that they just took to get to this campsite. And I'm sure he knows the whole time. But at one point, like, after when they're following him, it becomes very clear that he knows that they're there, and he's not mad.
He's like, children, why are you following me? And I'm like, I can see where I cry, where my tear marks are on these pages.
I started crying here too,
because it's
and I said he's probably just too sad to care and like is lonely, and he accepts them walking with him when they ask. And again, reminds me of Harry Potter when like he's walking to his and his family is walking with him right at the edge, like the people he loves.
Yeah,
and it's so sweet that it's Lucy and Susan, because even though he like doesn't know them, like he doesn't really have anybody else that like picked up on the vibe. Like they all kind of picked up on it, but they went and they searched him out to try and make him feel better actively.
Yeah, and picking up on vibes and doing something about it are two totally different things, as Dumbledore said.
And he asks them, this is where I started crying.
Yeah.
He asks them to hold his mane. I'm going to start crying now. Like, he's Aslan, but he just wants some comfort right now. And that's so sad, sweet, big baby boy, kitty cat.
Well, to give you a minute to collect yourself, it says that while they're walking, his nose droops and touches the grass. And it says that he stumbled and gave a low moan, and then Lucy says, Aslan, dear Aslan, like, what's wrong? Can't you tell us? And Susan's like, are you here? And Aslan's just like, no, I am sad and lonely. Lay your hands on my mane so I can feel you are there, and let us walk like that. And they did, and it says that they did what they would never dare to do without permission, but like what they wanted to do is, put their hands on the mane of a lion, and they walk up to the stone table. And this is the part to circle back to the Bible is he lets them know, just to prevent us from crying on the podcast, at least for this one.
Yeah, the tears didn't fall out of my eyes, by the way, just for the record. They just welled up, but they did not fall.
They were just there. I know. And me being like, don't worry, I'll distract you. Also, crying's okay.
Yeah.
But,
I cry all the time. I just wasn't trying to cry
exactly.
right now.
No, I just wanted to be like, it's not that I wouldn't let you cry. I would say I'm the number one friend who encourages your crying, actually. But basically, Aslan, like, when Jesus tells his disciples, like, I'm going to be arrested and killed, and like, this is basically kind of like that moment.
Yeah, he doesn't say it very explicitly.
No,
but like they don't fully understand, but they're crying a lot.
Of course,
and they're giving him kisses. They're like kissing his sweet little face,
his soft little paws, sweet little.
Yeah, and it did remind me like washing of feet and stuff. Even though they're not like licking his paws, but they're just like giving him kisses and like
like how you give a cat kisses.
Yeah, and I said women's intuition because they just like they know that something is happening. I'm like, I feel like if Edmund or Peter were there, they'd be like, "What do you mean, Aslan? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Why? Why are you sad and lonely? We're right here." Shut.
Oh yeah. So they go up to the stone table and they almost get there, and then
Yeah, like the edge. I picture like edge of the forest, edge of the woods.
Yeah.
And there's the stone table right there.
Or side where the trees came furthest up, and he's like, "Don't let yourselves be seen." And and then the crying and the kissing and this. And then, he goes up to where there's a group of people that are, evil looking.
Laughing, jeering. He doesn't say, don't watch.
Yeah.
Like, don't be caught.
Here you must stop, and whatever happens, do not let yourselves be seen.
I appreciate that he's not telling them to, don't, like, look if you want to.
And he says farewell, too. He doesn't say, like, bye. But yeah, basically, he walks up to the witch and her motley crew of creepy bad guys.
Werewolf and wolf and dog and
hags
and hound, and they're just all dogs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, where it's like, they got to go with whatever sort of like spooky kind of grim creatures they can. Yeah. But basically, she's like, bind him to the table and.
Yeah, they tie him up, even though he gives himself willingly.
Yeah, they like drag him to the table and tie him up, and they make fun of him and just,
humiliate him.
Yeah.
They shave his hair, they shave his mane. They call him Pussycat, and like
they muzzle him.
Yeah, they muzzle him.
And
because they're scared. They're still scared. But they're making fun of him and stuff.
And Aslan just looks brave, and like Lucy's like, they're like sobbing, of course, as we all are. And he just continues to look brave, and so she basically she's just doing whatever she can to, I mean, he's a lion, like dehumanize him, just make him into nothing because she's scared of him, and because it makes her feel big to make him feel small.
Yeah.
So and they bind him to the table.
And she pulls out a knife.
And he's like tied to the table. He's like way tighter than it would ever need to be.
Yeah, not only is he tied up, then tied to the table.
Yeah. And the way he talks about her face, like before she kills him, it's one of those things where it's like
there's no going back.
No.
She knows it. Like, this is the moment. This is like, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But like everything is about to change.
Because she thinks, well, okay, well, it's springtime because he's here, but like he's killing himself. So so I'll continue to rule. Winter will come back, and he won't be able to come back and ever get rid of my winter.
Right. Because I'm killing him on the table where it's mine. Like, it's her stone table that she can kill people on.
And yeah, she says, understand that you have given me Narnia forever. You have lost your own life, and you are not, and you have not saved his. In that knowledge, die or despair and die.
Yeah, because she's still gonna go and kill Edmund because technically she does still have the
Good day, sir.
You lose. Yeah, pulls out a knife, and they're still watching. They notice that it looks like it's made out of stone, possibly a shard from the table itself, potentially. And it has a strange shape. But it did remind me of something that like would have come from Charn or something, even though there's no way that it could have come from her home dimension, planet, world.
Yeah.
And then
the children don't actually watch the moment he dies.
They turn away, but yeah, she kills him. Dead. End of chapter. Moment of silence for our lost boy. May he rest in peace for like...
May he roar in peace.
Roar in peace for like a little bit. Chapter 15. Deeper magic from before the dawn of time. Sorry, I just had something in my throat.
Yeah,
and it was deeper magic from before the dawn of time.
Yeah, I was like, mine's definitely the deeper magic. I don't know what time it's from, but yeah. So the girls are still hiding.
Yeah, all the monsters are like, "Woo! We just won the war!" Like, well, but we're gonna still have the war. But
we won the war, and then we're gonna win the battle.
Yeah, literally, we won the war. Now let's go win the battle.
I mean, honestly, do the hard thing first. Oh yeah, it does mention minotaurs.
Yeah, and it says that they're too sad to be fearful of all of these creatures flying and running and doing all this crap around them.
Too sad to be scared. I guess we see it.
And I wondered if them not being afraid is what saved their life. Like, of course, maybe it was some sort of Aslan love protection or whatever, but it made me think of how, animals can smell fear or whatever, but like they weren't afraid. They were just so sad.
No, it just reminded me of this video I saw the other day of a koala standing under a eucalyptus tree next to the body of another koala, and like it's not making any noise. It's just standing there with its sweet little paws on top of it, and I was just like,
trigger warning.
I sent it to no one.
Bar 267. Wyatt, editing Wyatt. Make a trigger warning of sad koala.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't suffer it any longer. No, it's all yeah. But yeah, so they all
give a trigger warning for
they all leave. Actually, so it said a bull with the head of a man is with Aslan's crew, and that the minotaurs.
Okay.
Which is a man with the head of a bull?
Yeah.
A human body with the head of a bull.
But it's like a big human body, almost like a giant. But
yeah, like the one from American Spooky Story Project. Yeah. The Spooky Story American Project. There we go.
Yeah, that one.
But yeah, so they all leave, and so they go over to his body, and they start cutting the cords.
Well, yeah, first
they take
just
the muzzle
cry.
off. Yeah.
They just cry until they can't cry anymore, and then they look at each other in the eyes and cry more. I was like, this is so relatable. I feel like when you make eye contact with somebody when you're crying,
it's like when you're trying not to laugh, and
it just makes everything so real.
Yeah,
and like it brings you right back to the moment.
Yeah, I mean, laughing and crying is the same release, but
and they're trying to untie. Yeah,
I would have taken the muzzle and untied him while crying. Like I would not have been able to I wouldn't have been able to let myself go until that he was untied in this very real circumstance.
Yeah. And they stay up all night
crying
and trying to untie his bonds.
But again, I mean,
tight.
I was gonna say not to talk about our buddy Jesus, but he was hung on a cross, and part of that is you have nails in your hand, your feet are one on top of the other with a nail through it, and then you have nails in both of your hands holding you up, and you also are kind of, I don't remember if there was other things, but I know very specifically that they also pierce both your sides, because it's obviously hanging up there with those wounds, you will die, but they want you to die faster. So after they were satisfied that he was dead, the women came and took him down and cleaned his wounds and took him to his tomb, which is exactly what Lucy and Susan do.
Yeah. Then their fingers are too cold to really untie all of the ropes, and the knots are too tight, but They're
yeah.
they're like cleaning his face after they get the muzzle off, and then these mice start to come from like the grass and start to chew through the ropes. Um,
But they
and
don't
they don't realize it at first, and they go to swat them away. But Lucy goes, "Wait, wait!" And yeah, they start to chew through the ropes, and then more and more and more come. And it reminded me of like that old tale or whatever, Aesop, Aesop.
Yes, that
Oh, we'll pause for the plane.
I'm sorry, my nose is drippy from emotions.
Drippy, drippy,
Um,
drippy, drippy, sippy, tippy, sippy, crippy.
Sorry, the mushkas.
All right. So yes, these little mice come up and they start chewing through. They try to swat them away at first, but then Lucy, again being very observant, notices that they're just chewing the ropes. They're not like feasting on the corpse of Aslan. Like they're just chewing on the ropes.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that tale. I think it's pronounced Aesop. Aesop's tale. I'm really bad at looking up how things are pronounced. I'll look up what flowers mean, but
I think you're right.
About the lion, and the lion spares a mouse one day.
Yeah.
Instead of eating it.
And gets the thorn out of the paw.
Well, this one, it says I read it on read.gov/Aesop/007. Then he gets caught in a trap the next day or a week later or whatever. But the mouse is able to chew through the ropes to free him.
Okay.
And the moral of the story, it was like written in bold print at the bottom: a kindness is never wasted. And this seems like something that Aslan is well aware of, but just as like they can't bear to see him tied up, like the mice can't, like Narnia can't. Like he, as we learn later, he created them. Like,
yeah. Spoiler.
Yeah, like they're repaying him, not because.
No, go ahead.
Oh, not because like he spared their life, he wasn't gonna eat them, but like because he gave them their life.
Yeah, and so and they're both cold, so they go for a little bit of a walk, and then there's
the sun is like it's starting to like barely brighten.
The sky turns red, and the sea goes pale. Country look dark, and then
and the birds start to awaken, chipping, singing, guying, and tooting, and chirping, and
the red turned to gold, and then a giant loud cracking, deafening noise, which is scary, and they don't want to turn around and figure out what it is.
Yeah.
But they do, because what else are you gonna do? And the stone table's broken in two, and there's no Aslan anymore. His body's gone.
And they run down, confused. They're like, is this more magic? They kind of like ask each other.
Yeah.
And then the greatest introduction/reintroduction of the series. Yes, it is more magic. What?
I love this is the I love magic of this book.
Just like, whoop, magic. Yes, it's more magic. And guess who's back? Bigger than ever with the sunrise, baby.
With his shaking mane shining in the sunrise.
Grew back. Ooh, hair, beautiful. He's ripped. He's stronger. He's like a spider. He shed his
nails, coat.
Yeah, he's literally back and better than ever.
He's a hermit crab with a brand new shell. Brand new shell.
I do have a bit of a long quote here.
Go for it.
I was gonna say you probably can read the same thing. Though the witch knew the deep magic, there is a magic deeper still which she did not know. Her knowledge only goes back to the dawn of time. But if she could have looked a little further back into the stillness and darkness before time dawned, she would have read there a different incantation, this being on the stone table. She would have known that when a willing victim who had committed no treachery was killed in a traitor's stead, the table would crack and death itself would start working backward. I think my accent changed like thrice.
I was right in there with you. I was enthralled.
And then they have a good old romp. They're running around playing, having a good old time. He's like, says all this crazy shit. And he's like, well, but that means I'm back. So, like, let's play now.
Right.
He's tossing them in the air, and this is when I was reminded of that image of him talking with the witch. Because I just have a heart. The boobies have gotten me in the head. He's normally on all fours in my head when I'm seeing him.
Right.
But I think he is often walking around on his hind legs. Because he's throwing them in the air with his paws. He's like tossing the kids around, like, not with his mouth, like you would imagine a cat to do. But like,
yeah, I guess he is more human like in that he walks upright a lot of the time.
But I think he's still just a lion.
He's
that
just
walks
a
upright.
lion.
Like he's not humanish.
Yeah,
not like
BoJack
the
Horseman.
lion. Yeah, he's just a lion walking around.
And it's this is a common theme in his stories where like, you know, there is a rule about something, but there's always like an addendum to it, which is like if like which way you do something, and we'll get into that in other stories talking about like, you know, and it's also like things only as Aslan's the only one who knows. He's like, oh well, if you do it this way, that will happen. But if I tell you can do it, then and it's like, okay, so basically it's like I don't. To what capacity this would have worked if it had been just like anyone, we don't know. But
right, if they had just killed Susan, would Susan have come back?
If Susan would have willingly given her life for Edmund, yeah,
right,
I think
but she
so.
didn't know that was an option.
No, and Aslan wouldn't have let her do it.
But Aslan, but here's the thing. He can go and do it and die even knowing that he's going to come back?
Yeah, what was he so sad about?
Yeah, bro. Like, you know, maybe he doesn't know how long it's going to take. Like,
maybe he just wanted to put them through the emotional turmoil.
Maybe he didn't know how long it was going to take because he says I might not be there tomorrow. Like, he knows he's going to come back, but he might miss it and they might all die. Maybe that's what he's sad about. He's not sad about himself dying. Cuz like otherwise it's sad for the plot. He's sad for the plot maybe. But
I don't know.
I feel like C.S. Lewis did write enough lore about Aslan specifically that he is sad for a real reason.
Yeah. Because there's no reason that like Lucy and Susan would have needed to be there or witness that. Because like even though he was tied down, the stone table would have cracked and he would have disappeared. And then
and been like,
or I don't know,
reborn, refreshed. It's like you respawn in a video game when you're like blink, and now you're back, and
then your friends shoot you immediately.
Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, it drives the plot, which is, I don't know if I made that up, but it's definitely something that I say constantly when I'm asking a question in a story, because these things don't necessarily need to happen, but who else? I guess, whatever. It drives the plot. So yeah, basically they're like, you know, riding on Aslan now.
Yeah, he roars and then they climb on his back, which is another thing that I'm sure nobody else has ever done. And they ride through Narnia. It says he runs 2 times the speed of a horse without any of the noise. 2 times the speed of a horse without any of the noise. Lions, all the rage. Ride them through the city, through the forest. I have some cat fun facts here. Like big cat.
Yeah, I was like, how fast do lions run?
House cats. On average, well, this is the horse fun fact, because if he's running twice the speed of a horse, I wanted to look up, well, how fast does a horse run? And on average, a domestic horse will normally achieve a running speed of around 30 miles per hour. While an adult lion can reach a top speed of 50 miles per hour. And this is like a regular lion, but this is Aslan we're talking about. But even only twice as fast as a horse is 10 miles an hour faster than.
So if he was a lady lion, he'd be even faster.
Probably.
Maybe that's all lions, but.
And then also a couple other fun lion facts. They're capable of leaping up to 36 feet horizontally. Because he does jump. He jumps like over the stone table and over the whatever. He jumps like some big ass thing. Jumps 36 feet horizontally and up to 12 feet vertically. But depending on their size, they can jump as high as 18 feet and as far as 40 feet. For reference, 12 to 18 feet is higher than a 2-story building, and 36 to 40 feet for the length is about as long as a humpback whale.
Which I'm sure is a very...
Yeah, they're constantly jumping over whales. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that classic sitcom trope when the whale jumps the lion.
Yeah, I do have...
Wait, the lion jumps the whale. Okay, so yeah, they're riding on Aslan's back, and, you know, they're just kind of vibing, and then he announces that they're going to the witch's house.
Yeah, around midday. So
yeah.
like this is from
pre-battle.
Sunrise. Now midday they're reaching. I don't know, maybe midday the battle might have just begun.
I mean, I feel like sunrise is probably about basically it's like the witch isn't going to be there because like they're about to have the battle. So yeah, they ride there at top speed at least 50 miles per hour. Also, he's a magical lion, so let's give him an extra 20.
Yeah.
And it's Narnia, so let's just make it a cool 100.
They get through Narnia very, very quickly. Again, I think C.S. Lewis took the note from the Tolkien fans, and there's a lot of walking where he just doesn't write about it.
And it literally says that he leaps up over the castle
Over the wall. That's why
Yeah.
I looked up how high they can jump. And then I give him another 20 feet, probably.
Yeah, for magic.
Yeah, for magic. And that's he ends the chapter leaping over the page.
Yeah, as
into the next chapter.
Oh, because in mine it's like that it is that, and then it's like Sue and Lou. Oh my God, Lou and Sue tumble off of Aslan into the middle of a wide stone courtyard full of statues, which now
Okay, I feel like he dumped them off.
I mean,
because they haven't fallen off this whole time, and he's been running and jumping and doing all
I mean,
this
he
crazy
did say
stuff.
whole time,
They tumbled into the next chapter,
right?
which is chapter 16. I think we've got one more after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're nearing
the
the end.
penultimate chapter, chapter 16. What happened about the
statues?
statues? What happened about the statues?
What happened?
What happened about the statues?
What happened about the statues?
That's such a strange sentence. What happened with the statues? What happened to the statues? What happened about
how the statue situation was resolved?
Yeah. What happened? It's the what happened about.
The statues.
What happened about that? What happened about the statues? Okay, I'm starting to feel it more. Let me say it 5 more times. No.
And they're like, oh wow, look at all these stone
Yeah,
animals.
what the fuck?
It's like a museum.
She knows that the witch can turn people to stone, and she's like, wow, this is so cool.
In their defense, it's been a long night. So,
all right,
but
sure, they have stayed up literally all night crying and just like
they're
being
exhausted.
And then Aslan's back. It's the emotional whiplash of that. Okay, sure.
At least
and she's 8.
It's a good way now. And then he literally just breathes on the statues.
Fishy cat breath.
He all over them.
Don't you just love when their cat breathes all over your face?
Dear God.
That shit would wake me up too.
Yeah, but literally, Aslan just goes up to a dwarf and then he goes up to a rabbit and then literally like, they wake up. Mm-hmm. They're like just literally they go from stone to just, being fine, no muscle atrophy or anything.
I thought it was really sweet that the first animal that he awakens is the other lion, which is also the first animal that Edmund sees, the one that he drew on. And the lion is so excited, and he runs up and he's licking his face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably, he's all the animals' god, but like as a lion, he's like, that's my boy, Aslan.
Yeah, I mean, especially because they were frozen by the queen, presumably for no reason at all. Otherwise, their loyalty to him.
Yeah,
she's like communism.
I wonder,
energy.
Like, were they aware that whole time? Were they frozen, like cryo sleep? Like, have they? I think it's the cryo sleep because I feel like the giant wakes up and he's like, "Where'd she go?"
Mm-hmm.
Like that is also crazy. Like 1 second ago, the witch was like, "You fucking bitch," and she turns you to stone, and then the next second, Aslan is right there, and he just saved you.
Like the cocoons in The Good Place, how like you come out of it and then you're still mid sentence.
Yeah,
literally. That disorienting as fuck.
And they like don't want him to wake the giant, but he does it.
The giant's like, "Bless me, I must have been asleep."
Yeah, so sweet. What's the giant's name? Oh yeah, Aslan asks the giant his name because he's so kind, and his name is Rumblebuffin. You heard that right. Rumblebuffin. And then he breaks down that wall. Oh yeah, but Lucy finds Mr. Tumnus, and they hug and they cry, and then Lucy catches him up. Besties. She's like, okay, well here's what happened while you were dead and gone and turned to stone.
I'm still stuck on Rumblebuffin. It just sounds like something that happens in an auto shop. But yeah, no, Tumnus definitely gives off like GBF energy.
100%.
Especially talking about the way he's dressed his house. That's what I was gonna say. But yeah, just basically for the sake of time, essentially, they're bonding, they're meeting new people, and they're just like crying and happy and excited, but also keeping in mind that like although it is a happy and wonderful thing that Aslan's back, there's a big battle preparing for them. And then C.S. Lewis just spends a lot of time talking about different animals and dogs and lions and all of them in different directions. And basically they just all go off to where the battle's happening. And, you know, they can hear in the distance like clanging of metal and clashing. And they go through a narrow valley. Then they see Peter and Edmund and the rest of the crew fighting that those, you know, awful creatures that they saw the previous night. And it looks like they're not doing well.
Yeah. Well, Lucy feels queer again before the battle. She hears it and she feels queer. Peter's fighting the White Witch by himself, which is fucking...
And she's not using her wand. She's using the knife. So she's not trying to, you know, turn him into a little toad. She's trying to...
Well, we learn a little bit more about why she's not using the wand later. But she's trying to stab him.
Yeah, or more so just like to point out how animalistic and desperate she's become, despite the fact that like
a knife.
I think also gaining power from killing Aslan with it. You know, it's got that elder witch shit, but elder wand shit.
Yeah.
Then of course, you know,
Aslan roars
off my back. Oh yeah, because they're children roar. I thought it said on my back, but off my back.
Yeah, get the fuck off me.
And then of course, you know, there's a roar, and it shook all of Narnia from the western lamppost to the shores of the eastern sea. The eastern sea, there was more in the sentence, but it's not important.
Yeah.
But basically, like, you know, Aslan just like jumps on the White Witch.
Yeah, she turns because she's like, what the fuck? And she sees him for like 1 second before he's on her.
Pounds.
Dead.
Pidgey.
Just like the death is quite quick here, and I know that's because it's for children. Like, there was no tussle. There's no fighting Aslan though. Like, if he wants you dead, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You got to have your little 100 years, and you're fucking dead, bitch. Slice.
I let you go once. I'm not gonna do it again.
Yeah.
The opposite of a rom-com.
And that's the end of the chapter. Boom.
Which brings us to our final chapter, chapter 17.
The hunting of the white stag.
And then, literally.
Yeah, and it starts like a breakdown of the rest of the battle. It was all over a few minutes after he killed the White Witch, as it should be. They just kind of killed everybody that was left, or people were like, I'm out of here. If the witch is dead, like, bye.
Like, ding dong.
And Peter gives the credit all away to Edmund, because Edmund broke her wand, and that's why she wasn't able to turn them all to stone. It's an okay redemption arc. I know I said earlier that he doesn't get a good one, and this is all right. Because they would have lost without him.
Well, finally, he's paying attention to, like, you know, the natural teaching clues that are in his environment, but like it also like mentions that Peter, like, his face is pale and he seems older, which, like, granted, it is Narnia and he is a young boy, so he's probably, I mean, I don't know like how long a year in Narnia is, but like, I mean, this boy's just been to war and seen some terrible shit, so I think
killed a lot of people probably.
And I think that, you know, in some ways, like, this might be reference to that, like, less biblical, less mythology, and just like how young boys are forced to do things that they aren't ready for, and it changes them. But then they realize that Edmund's hurt.
Bad.
Yeah, he's not doing well.
Because Peter's like, "Oh, Edmund saved the day," and then they're like, "Yeah, where is he?"
He's like covered in blood and green, basically.
Yeah, he's over there dying while I'm telling you how good he was doing.
He doesn't get a present from Santa.
He doesn't.
But also his present in this case, his present in this case is his life, because you know, Lucy pulls out the dropper and gives him a couple, and you know, Aslan
she doesn't want to leave.
No, but Aslan doesn't give her a second. He's like, there's other people that are wounded.
He says, must more people die for Edmund? Talking about himself.
So
He's like,
manipulative.
I just fucking died for this bitch. Are you gonna let more people die? And she's on nurse duty as a woman, going around healing everybody,
attending to the wounded while Aslan restores who had been turned to stone. I mean, like, it's just like,
and nobody died and everybody was okay.
Like, if you can turn people from stone back to life with your breath, can't you just like give them a little lion spitch, little?
Yeah, like, what about the people that were dead? Can you bring them back too?
Yeah. What if you farted with that, like? I'm sorry, that was blasphemous. Yeah, so, she goes around, she helps everybody, and Aslan helps everybody that's stoned, and then she does come back to him and sees that he's better. Much better than he's been
even better before.
Yeah, like before he had gone to his first term at school where he had begun to go wrong. So finally we're apart from all the obvious notions. It's like Edmund probably went to a school where he was being belittled by other students or a teacher or made to feel small, and probably used to be a lot like Peter and Susan and Lucy, but something happened to him to take that away. So now we're getting a little like background clarification for Edmund.
But that weight is now off his shoulders.
Yeah. And Aslan makes him a knight, which, is great. But thankfully, like, Lucy whispers to Susan, like she asks, like, do you know what Aslan did for you? Or does he know what?
She asks if they should tell him.
Yeah, does he know?
Thinks that they should, and Susan says that they shouldn't because it would just make him feel awful. And Lucy's like, I think I would want to know.
Yeah.
And
then they get interrupted.
Like, would you want to know? I think I would. I think I would.
Not right then.
Yeah,
but eventually. Like, I mean, again, this is still a fucking 10-year-old boy.
I think that we'll find out, maybe. But I think that once they go back, and it must be talked about at some point that Aslan died before. Like, I think he has to put it together.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Because he knew that she was going to maybe kill him on that stone table. And then decided against it. Or, like, something changed again.
I wonder. Well, it says that they're having that conversation, they're interrupted, and then, like, they get to, they talks about how they went to sleep, they ate, and then, like, they make it to the castle at Cair Paraval, which it sounds maybe like somewhere between the castle from Monty Python and the castle from the Little Mermaid, like, just beautiful by the sea, and like they, it talks about them getting to take off their shoes and their socks and getting to like walk in the sand and
like, be kids for like an hour.
Yeah, for 5 seconds before they're turned into kings and queens.
Yeah.
And like they are like child kings and child queens, but it's great because they sit on their thrones and then they give fancy roles to all their friends, and I mean, they take their people with them. When they come up, they take their people, which is the way you should do it. Yeah, basically a lot of partying and eating and music and merriment, because, like, literally you just got rid of the thing preventing joy. And my question, I actually wrote this down earlier because I was wondering, like, is there winter in Narnia once the witch dies?
Yeah, because there's Christmas. And stuff.
That's what I'm just like, but I think it's more like there are parts of Narnia where, like, they don't get winter.
Maybe.
But like, because we
tropical islands and things like that.
I wonder, because there are places where it isn't cold and Christmas still comes. So that was my other thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, those places still get winter. Anyway, not important. Like, all the bad guys just kind of disappear.
If they didn't get got in the battle, they just like ran to like her homeland, not her homeland, but where her castle was probably.
Right. A haunting here, a glimpse of a werewolf once a month, and the rumor of a hag the next. And they made good laws, and there's peace, and they saved the good trees from being unnecessarily cut down. Oh my God, I love that. And
it's really, they do a lot of good.
Here's where we get to like the part that's the hardest for me to like deal with. They grow into full ass adults and people. Like, they're there for like
years.
Yeah, like
10 years.
I would assume that, well, does it give us how long they're there? I assume that they're probably like, Peter's like 30. I don't know.
Yeah, and he was 13. So yeah, maybe it's probably like 20 years or something. I did have a question though about Aslan that I wanted to talk about, because they don't say anything when he slips away at the party, because Mr. Beaver told them that he doesn't like to be tied down and, quote, has other countries to attend to. And I couldn't find like any information on it other than this mention. I was like, what other countries are they talking about? And they're just saying, well, he's Jesus. But like, Jesus already died in our world.
Well,
and then he came back and then he went away.
They're gonna like plan it. Yeah, he's supposed to come back someday. So.
But then I was like, well, there are other countries in Narnia. Like, do they get an Aslan?
He also he can go through to the different worlds.
Yeah.
So
and then there's also Aslan's country. Yeah. So maybe he's just going back to his own country.
Sounds like a destination at Disneyland.
Aslan's country.
Also, I love that it mentions that Queen Lucy, she was always gay and golden haired, and all the princes in those parts.
She's queer. She's gay.
They all desired her to be their queen.
But she didn't want it.
And it said in her own people called her Queen Lucy the Valiant. But I'm just like, it doesn't mention her ever taking that's the thing. Like,
none of them do.
Like, they're going through puberty. They're growing taller. They're completely changing and having relationships and everything. Like, these are full ass lives. They learn how to hunt. They learn how to do everything.
The way of speaking completely changes. Peter goes, "Fair consort, let us now alight from our horses and follow this beast into the thicket."
Like, by the lion's mane.
What the hell? Like, they really, really grew the whole life in this.
Fair, and I pray thee. Like, yeah, they verbally regress and grow in some sort of weird way.
It's wild. They're talking like kings and queens. They've been making deals with other countries. Like, they've been doing the shit. But yes, they heard tell. Mr. Tumnus tells them that this white stag has been seen in the woods, and it's a stag that once you catch it, it will grant you one wish, any wish. They utilize this in that book series and show, The Magicians, which is very heavily inspired by Narnia, and they have their own creature. But
nice.
He gets to make the wish in the show, I'm pretty sure. They don't get to make their wish. I wonder what they would wish for. To go back? I wonder.
Yeah. Well, and then while they're chasing this stag, they come across the lamppost. And
which they probably haven't seen since they saw it the first time. And they don't know what it is at first. They're like vaguely familiar with it. They're like, what is this thing? It's
the strange device.
Yeah, it's on. It's like got power, but there's no oil. There's no fire. Susan feels uncomfortable in not knowing what's going on, and she votes to leave. Again, she's always like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. Let's go. Let's just leave. And honestly, again, I'm agreeing with her. They should have just stayed forever.
Right.
Honestly, your life kind of sucked.
Like
you have a whole life now. Just stay here in the wonderful, glorious land of Narnia where you're kings and queens. I would have stayed, 100%.
Well,
they don't really get a choice.
No, but they didn't get a choice to really go
either.
I mean, Lucy did, but it's like the what does it say? Like, I know not how it is, but this lamp on the post worketh upon me strangely.
Shit, bitch, that lamp worketh upon me.
It runs in my mind that I have seen the like before, as if it were in a dream or in the dream of a dream. So Narnia is really banking on people's deja vu. And basically, they're just like, okay, cool. Well, let's go figure out what happens. And they do a lot more prithee and I pray thee, and basically, like, they end up.
Quick question again about this. Them not remembering.
Mm-hmm.
How do they not remember? Is it because they're in a different world? Does it do your memories of the other world just fade away? Like, then wouldn't they forget that they're siblings, but they're also siblings? I don't it just feels so weird. How do you not remember how you got here?
They might be banking on the whole children forgetting details and things,
right?
Because okay, Lucy maybe, but Peter would have remembered, but also they don't really tell us how much time has passed.
There is a timeline out there, and it tells you how long this period is. We'll probably talk about that in the last episode. I'll go through a little timeline of everything that we've had before the last battle.
I think it's in this circumstance, it might just be a Narnia magic sort of situation, and they go after the stag, but they're not they don't think they're going back through the wardrobe. They just think they're going after the stag.
They're just walking, and then all of a sudden the trees turn into coats. Very similar to exactly the same how it went before.
But it's interesting because Susan, the one who's been scared the whole time, she's the one who actually gets the last phrase in Narnia, which is then in the name of Aslan, if ye will all have it so, let us go on and take the advantage that shall fall to us.
Yeah, because they all decide to go further.
Yeah, and they go into the thicket in 20 paces or so, and then all of a sudden they're not in branches anymore, but in coats, and then They all come tumbling out of the wardrobe, and they're no longer grown-ass people. They're the children they once were in their old clothes, and it was the exact same time that they had left.
No time had passed.
None.
Which is wild. Like, it makes sense, sure, that Lucy and Edmund, when they're gone for an hour or whatever, a couple hours, like, no time has passed.
Yeah.
But they've been gone 50 years or something.
Yeah, like, upwards of 15, 20.
And no time has passed. So this does lead me back to what I was talking about when the professor's talking about different universes, time just runs separately, completely separately from our own time. It doesn't run quicker necessarily, but it's just not interacting with our time.
You age differently. Yeah, like they're hundreds of years old, but they look like they're in their early 20s.
Maybe, but yeah, like you don't exist there. So when you exist there, sure, you'll age and you'll do all the things. But when you're in this dimension, like nothing, those timelines don't intersect ever.
That makes sense. And then for those who remember, the whole reason they went into the wardrobe in the first place is because they were trying to escape from Mrs. McCready, because she was giving a random ass tour to people of this house that wasn't even hers.
Yeah.
But thankfully they didn't.
And they didn't even go in the room.
No.
So if they had never gone in the wardrobe, if they had just gone into the room,
maybe they did. Maybe that was the amount of time, and we just don't know. Like they went in, and she was like, "Oh, there's nothing in here but an old wardrobe," and then like shut the door, and then they were having their conversation.
That's more believable for me.
You know, like
in my brain.
But like, yeah, and basically, like, you know, the kids have to tell the professor because he was the one who he didn't encourage them by any means to go in there or find it, but he encouraged them to have open minds about it, and so they wanted to tell him.
Well, doesn't Susan say my note is like they feel bad because they stole 4 of his coats. Susan says something about like, well, we should tell him like that his coats, like why his coats are missing, and he's like, oh, it wouldn't make sense to try and go back when they tell him.
He knew that they wouldn't be lying, I think is what it, or like being silly. And he's like, yeah, don't go back. He's like, I don't think you can get to Narnia again by that route, which is basically like, how do you know that the magic has all been used up? How do you know that they can't go back through there?
Yeah, that's what I was confused about. Like, he hasn't gone.
Yeah, and how are these routes? Yeah, what do you, like, I don't...
What do you know about routes to Narnia? You've only been through the rings.
Yeah, and then also just, like, you know, he's like, oh, what are they teaching you in schools? And you're like, what are you fucking talking about?
What did you get taught in schools? You were taught magic? Where did you go? Hogwarts?
Traveling through wardrobes.
Pig spots.
On Mars. Rumble roar. That makes actually a lot of sense for this.
Rumble muffin.
Rumble muffin.
And that is the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We finished it. Two episodes, but we finished it.
Yeah, which again, I mean, you know, I think it's interesting to break it apart because these are really short stories. Like if this was a Harry Potter book, it would be bonkers to try to do it. We would be here
for a year.
Yeah, we would literally be here for 18 lifetimes.
That's what people start those types of podcasts, and then 3 years later, 3 years later, they're like, wait, fuck, it's been 3 years since we started this, and we're on book 4.
Which like, I mean, I love a rewatch podcast. I like listening because we're doing it, but I think it's also, you never know what sort of, like, what someone's going to pick up from, like, the minute details.
Oh, I do. We don't have to. I was going to say we could ask favorite moment, favorite character.
Yeah, no.
And anything you're excited to see in the movie.
Yeah. Favorite moment, favorite character. Yeah, do you have a favorite moment?
My favorite moment is honestly the sacrifice of Aslan and the rebirth. Just that, like, whole chapter and a half. Just because, like, the thought about the deep magic and, like, what it means, and, like, the fact that it's, like a law of nature, and it's just really interesting. Like, that is the main difference of the way the worlds work, like, in Narnia versus here. Because, like, there is magic in the real world, obviously, if Narnia can pull you in and stuff like that. But this is, like, the Narnia-specific magic.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it was. I mean, I just love the lore and the world building, so that's, I feel like, the biggest moment for it in this book. There are other books with different kind of moments.
Yeah.
But I mean, also just the classic Lucy's first entrance, like into Narnia. Like I feel like that's perfect. Like it's the perfect moment.
Mm-hmm. The first step.
Because I mean, she's definitely my favorite character in the book. I feel like she's everybody's favorite character in. No, Aslan.
No. I honestly I don't know. I'm thinking and listening.
You're good. And then I did write like the thing I'm most excited to see in the movie, because is that what we're doing next? Are we watching the movie next?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. So we get a movie episode between now and the next book, even though I'll be reading the next book. Probably.
Well, yeah, reading the book while we. Yeah, we're gonna watch the movie and then talk about the movie and how it,
differs. Just how it is by itself.
How we wish it would have gone. A hint, hint, Greta.
Yeah, if you're listening, Greta, definitely listen to the next episode, because we'll be giving you all the tips and tricks on how to make a beautiful, wonderful Narnia movie.
That we want to see.
Yeah, just for us. And I don't want you to change the battle scene at all. Just take the clips of the final battle, not the final battle, but the battle in the movie. Just take it.
You definitely have more retention, because I've seen the movie.
The music like cuts out. And they're running. And we'll talk about it later.
It's mixed with Lord of the Rings in my head, honestly.
That scene is giving Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's that good, and just like, damn, what a movie am I watching? This is like for kids, but also like, oh, it's good.
It is. I feel like it's not like for little kids though. Like it's for middle-aged kids.
Yeah, like 10, like double digits.
Yeah.
10 and up.
No, I think, like my favorite part in the story, like really thinking about it, I guess, like also world building is when Santa comes, because like not only is, because like, especially at this point, like it's pretty grim, like the queen's out with Edmund, he's miserable, he's hungry, they're hiding in that hole, and like, yeah, they're with beavers who are warm and toasty, but even still, like it's very scary. And then that uncertainty is met with Santa, who hasn't been around forever, and he gives them those incredible gifts. I feel like it's like that moment where you know things are going to get better.
Totally.
So.
And the gifts are a great, like, I mean, a little bit like Lucy's gift is the most world buildy, and the horn, with like the magical objects, and that's what made me think of the White Witch's little vial earlier.
I guess they both get offensive and defensive gifts.
Mm-hmm. They have a helpful passive gift, and stab die gift.
They should stab that. Yeah, Lucy. I mean, like, I guess Lucy can be my default favorite character, because like I genuinely don't want to give it to any, but I guess it could be like per book. I like more so like, who's the MVP of the book, of this story?
Yes.
Mrs. Beaver, hands down, 100%. I pick Mrs. Beaver because not only does she prepare and remain calm, she keeps those she is the Molly Weasley of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like the Beavers or the Weasleys, fight me on it. Like and like it's the not my daughter, you bitch. Like that's the energy she brings without that vernacular. Instead of that, she brings butter.
Right. From the beginning, though, she doesn't grow into it.
And that's exactly how Molly Weasley was. The second she met Harry, he was one of her kids. And same, like, all children are her children, and like, and that is the whole mentality of, it's like, we are community. We all belong to each other. We all have to take care of each other, and like, you have to. Yeah, children are the most important, which I think is like why Lucy is also the main character, because she is the most malleable.
She's the future.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that Lucy is the future. But I'm really excited to get into the other stories, to watch the movies, and just continue on this journey through Narnia and Under the Sea.
Oh, and yes, you can also find us at Instagram at Lobster and His Boy. No capitals, no space, and no special characters.
Not to be confused with Lobster and His Boy USA.
Correct.
Which we didn't know existed and doesn't seem to be anything related to what we're doing. And if those folks happen to hear this and want to reach out to us, we would love to collaborate. We don't know what you're doing, but we are here for it.
Yeah, Lobsters and His Boys in the USA. Hit us up.
Yeah.
Check the line. Slide in the DMs.
We would love to collaborate and hang out, and yeah. And
yeah, we are also Lobster and his boy in the U.S.,
which is great. Yeah, you know, because there's more than one lobster and there's more than one boy, and it's nice that we're all hanging out in the tank together. But thanks everybody for sticking with us, for listening. We're really excited to watch the movie and give our thoughts. And yeah, we hope that you have enjoyed The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And be kind to each other. Be kind to yourselves. I don't know. If you see a lobster in a tank, give him a little wink.
Bye-bye.
Bye.